All right, and then so let me share my screen. Cool, can you see that?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so what we're gonna discuss today is SQL. And so we'll talk a little bit about why we use SQL, and then we'll also talk a little bit about how we use SQL. And so what I've got is this right here. Oh, let me go ahead and close this out. Okay, and so let me move. Wish there was a way to get like rid of this Zoom bar because it's always in my way. Okay, cool. Great. So this is like a little introduction to SQL, and there's some challenges that we'll be working on. But first, what I want to do is let's talk about what SQL is and why we even need SQL. So what is SQL? What does SQL stand for?
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
Oh, it's structured query language.
perfect. Yeah. And so it's its very own language, and what it does is it basically communicates with databases that you build to execute some functions. Um, why do we need SQL? Why do we need database management?
Pretty much it allows us to I guess to find um, data-based data collections or information that we need.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if we have a database, then what we're able to do is we're able to go into it and retrieve some of that stuff that we need. Okay, great. So retrieve data from databases. I guess that also plays along with manages databases, right? Because we're able to manipulate, manipulate databases. All right, great. What else? And then I guess we could, why? What else can we think of?
We can create databases also.
We can create databases, great. I guess that kind of goes with like manage and manipulate databases, but yeah, we can create databases. The most important thing is we can store data,
Okay.
right? And so what that kind of plays along with is memory, which I think is, you know, probably the most important functionality of a database, because we didn't have databases. Every single time you or I try to sign into something, we would have to keep re-registering and go through the whole sign-up process. But having databases helps with, you know, only having to sign up once and then storing that information so that it's retrieved every single time we sign in. And so then we don't have to go through everything. All right, cool. What are some functionalities of managing databases and dealing with SQL? So functions of SQL.
We can add and subtract. We can
Add and subtract what? Data?
well, it would be correct, right? Integers or
Okay. What are the integers used for?
so integers would be data that the user would input.
Okay. All right. So what I'm hearing is we can create data. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll say we can create data. What else can we do?
We can alternate the data also.
Alternate. Okay. So, alternate. I kind of like that word. I also like the word update
Update.
data.
Okay.
All right. What else?
Um, we can we can well we can I guess locate or specific data that we need or want. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way of putting it.
I don't know
I'd
how
like to say we can read our data. What else? One more I'm looking for.
we can
What if
delete.
I don't want that
Yeah,
data
we can
anymore?
delete the data.
I'm sorry?
Delete the data.
We can delete the data. Cool. So if we take a look at this, right,
Mm-hmm.
we've got CRUD, which stands for CRUD. And CRUD is something that you're going to hear a lot from here on in Sinatra and in Rails and, you know, mostly all the other languages that deal with databases. And what CRUD is, it's the ability for your application to create, read, update, and delete its data. So great, yeah, good job. Have you come across this acronym yet?
I'm sorry.
Have you come across this acronym yet? The
I
CRUD?
have not. I have not. No.
Okay. Okay. So you'll get really familiar with it once you dive more into possibly like the Sinatra stuff. All right. Great. Cool. So I think this like kind of covers, you know, what SQL is, why we use SQL, and also the functionalities. Not necessarily. Well, yeah, I guess it is the functionalities of SQL. Yeah, we'll leave it as that. Cool. So moving on to the next thing, uh, there's like two ways that we can read our databases, right? We can always read it off of our terminal. So like if I was to jump into my SQLite prompt and say, hey, give me the schema. Oh, I think I know why. Oops. Whoops. I am messing this up. Okay, hold on. Let me jump out of this. Okay. Oh my gosh. I swear programmers are the worst typers because we're always misspelling things. It's like such a conundrum. Okay, cool. So, oh man, did I miss? What is that? Am I missing? Do you remember the command for pulling up the schema?
The command.
Yeah, it should be dot schema.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is it not? Because we have a table here. We have a database created. And we're in our file. That's really weird. I wonder why it's not yeah, it is dot schema. Use, okay. Dot open file. Oh, maybe I need to open it. Let's see. Let's do dot open and then chinook.db. Maybe, oops. There we go. Okay, so you have to run the open command first and then run your schema, or else it's not going to. Cool. So this pulls up a schema for me. Can you tell me what a schema is?
A schema is I forgot. It's isn't the layout or creation of the table?
Yeah, exactly. It's the structure of your table. You decide what your table's going to look like, what columns you're going to have, and then you build that out, and it forms the schema that you can retrieve. Great. Yeah, cool. So like looking at this is, I don't know, to me this is great. You know, it's a great way to use your command line interface to look at what you've got built, but it's a little like hard on the eyes to see. So what's cool is in this README, it talks about the SQLite browser that you can actually download here, and I'm going to go ahead and post this in the chat. If I can find the chat. Cool. All right. So yeah, take a look at that, and I would highly recommend you download that. And what SQLite browser is it's this like really cool application that you can use to connect your database to. And it kind of, what it does is it gives you your database in a more like readable manner. So like it actually shows you it in like a table format. So if I open up you'll see here, like this is now a lot easier, right? So I see that I have this table, tables. So I have like an album table, an artist table, customer. And if you open those up, you can see their columns. You can also see their data types, like what they're set for data types. You can browse your data. So like if you want to look at your albums table, you can browse it like this and see what you have in that table. You can edit, and this is the like pretty nifty part of it, is that you can actually execute SQL in this application as well. So like for some of the labs where you have to do some SQL queries, you can actually load up your database in this application and just execute those here and see what you return, which is kind of what we're going to do today. I'm going to work more with this than I am with the command line.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is there's some challenges here. And so we'll go ahead and we'll try to solve these using this application. All right, cool. So let's start with the first one. Write the SQL to return all of the rows in the artists table. So what's a keyword that you use in SQL to return like said data?
To return, so you use a term called based on my reading, called wildcard, or would you start with select?
Select, yeah. So whenever you want to return something, we'll go ahead and we'll say, hey, I want you to select.
Okay.
And then so it wants all of the rows in the artist's table. What's the symbol that we use to represent all in SQL?
It would be the star.
a star, perfect. And then we can say from an artist. And so if you, and the thing with SQL is you always have to add that semicolon at the end for it to execute. So I can't remember. It should. Okay, cool. So I guess I have to press the play button. Great. So yeah, so select all from the artists table, and then our SQL executed and it returned all of our data from the artists table. Great. So we'll take this and we'll keep that here so that we have that for our own lesson. Cool. So the next thing is write the SQL to select the artist with the name Black Sabbath. So unlike this, it wants us to now specifically find the artist with the name Black Sabbath. Right? Yeah, okay. So I guess we can still use the select all, right? Because we want to return from artists. What's a keyword that we can use if we want to return specifically something based on a condition?
Where.
Excellent. Where. And then if we look at our artists table, it looks like we have a column name. So we can say where name equals, and then I guess it one Black Sabbath. And if we execute that, we get our Black Sabbath return. So I think this works great. Cool.
And you said where name equals?
Yeah, so like what you want to do is you want to list the column that you want to query. And so in this case, when I look at my artists table, it has an artist ID and a name column. And so since I want the name, not the artist ID, because we don't have the artist ID, I'm going to list the name column and then say whatever name equals Black Sabbath, return that to me.
Got it.
Does that clear it up?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we'll take that and we'll paste that here. Great, cool. So write the SQL to create a table named fans. So what we're doing is we're creating a table with an auto-incrementing ID that's a primary key and a name field of type text. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy this and we'll put this in as a comment. Maybe I'll put this on another line so it's easier to read. Cool. So how do we create a table?
The way we create a table, you will use the create table. So we'll spell out create table all caps. Then we'll give it the name of the table.
Perfect.
Then parentheses. The inside of parentheses, well, we need fan with auto increment ID. So it will be ID. Integer. Primary key. And a name field of type text. So and the name of our column, and the type would be text, all caps. Yeah.
Do we need a comma in between these two? Well, let me see. I can't remember. Yeah. So yeah, we do need commas to separate them out. Okay,
Okay.
cool. Great. Yeah, and so you can do it on one line like this if you want, but then like if it's easier on the eyes for you, you can also break this apart. And sometimes when you have multiple columns, you will want to break it out like this just so that it's much easier to read and distinguish. Let me see. Do we need? Okay, great. I guess what I want to ask you is, do we need to capitalize all of the SQL functionalities?
Um, no, based on my reading, it said it's pretty much at your discretion, I guess, just to distinguish um the column names and the the type, the data type.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. We don't have to, it's not a rule for SQL, but we definitely want to just to distinguish the part of SQL versus like, you know, the rest of it.
Oh, quick question I had too.
Sure.
With the integer primary key, that's used to, I guess, to locate the data, right? Or
Yeah, what it does is it creates an ID for like each data that you insert into your table, so that first of all, so that you don't have any duplication issues happening in the future, and then second of all, so that you're able to retrieve it. And when you say primary key, what it does is it starts at 1 and it just auto increments for you every single time that you insert something.
okay,
Yeah, so this is what's taking care of that auto incrementation.
okay.
Great. So yeah, so let's see if, I wonder if we have to refresh this to see if our, because it says query executed successfully. Let's see. Wonder. I don't see it here, but I know that it was created because it says table fans already exists when I try to do this again. Oops. But I don't know how to refresh this. Okay, let's put this here for now, and then maybe this will just take a second to load. Or let's do refresh. Very interesting.
Hmm.
I don't see like a refresh option. Should have just, maybe it's just going to take a second. So we'll just give it. Yeah, I still don't see it. Okay, that's okay. We'll just wait for it. All right, let's move on to the next one. So write the SQL to alter the fans table to have an artist ID column type integer. I'm gonna take that and so write the SQL to alter. Okay, cool. So what it wants us to do is it wants us to go into our fans table and create a column of artist ID with the type of integer. What's the keyword that we use when we want to change something in our table?
Want to change?
Yeah.
We'll use ALT.
Alter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're giving us a big hint here. Great. So alter and then fans. And let me see, do they have that here? Let's see if it's...
So we don't have to put select?
No, because what we're doing now is we're not really selecting anything from our database. We're just adding something to it. Well, we're adding something to our table, not necessarily the database.
Okay.
And we're adding a column. So what we want to do is we want to actually use this alter table command. And so if we take a look at... All right, cool. So here it is, alter table. So I guess what you do is you give the command, the SQL command, alter table, list your table, and then if you want to add a column, we can use this add column and list the name of the column along with its type. Cool, okay. So let's do add column, and then it said it wants artist ID and type integer. Do they do capital? Yeah. Okay. Let's not forget our semicolon. All right, cool. So it looks like that executed successfully. I'm still like kind of weirded out that we can't see this. And like that there isn't a refresh. Let me Google that really quick. How to refresh in DB browser. How do I, okay, this might be. There is a refresh button. That, I don't see that. Do you see that?
No.
Yeah, weird. I see revert changes, right changes? No. That's find or replace. That's a save command. It said it was like right here, huh?
Yeah.
Mode text. Weird. Is there like a key command we can do? Okay, so that wasn't very helpful. It's not very helpful. How to load data. This is what we want. We want to refresh. I wonder if we go to the website, where is it? Wonder if it'll tell us how to refresh it here. Let's go to docs. Keyboard shortcuts. That's what I'm kind of looking for. All right. Oh. Control R F5, refresh the database structure. Or maybe Control R. It's the same. Okay. So let's try that. Control R, and where's my F5? Well, that didn't do anything. Let's try it again. Control R F5. Yeah, that's not really doing anything for me. That's really gonna bug me now. Oops, I want a new one. Do we have to close it and reopen it? Let's see. Okay, and then let's open it again and see. Oh, there it is. Okay, whoops, that's the wrong one. All right, cool. So yeah, here's the table that we just created, fans. We had created it with an ID and a name, and then we just altered it to add that artist ID as an integer type, and it looks like it did that. Great. Cool. So I think we lost the command, but it was alter table fans add column artist ID, and type was integer. And we'll just take that and put it inside of this. Great. Do you have any questions up to this point?
The artist ID is referring to the role that the artist is placed, or?
That's a great question. Yeah. What would we use this artist ID for? Well, I guess like looking at the tables that we have right now in this database, who would artist ID belong to?
It would belong to the artist.
Yeah, perfect. So why are we adding this artist ID to our fans table?
So I guess eventually we'll have them talking to each other, I'm assuming, or like we'll be able to reference.
Yeah, we're definitely building some type of relationship here.
Yeah.
So like we're developing a relationship between our artists table and our fans table. Yeah, why might we do that? Like
Why?
thinking about conceptually, like why would we want to build a relationship between artists and fans?
So when the fans, I guess when if on a user side, if the fans is looking for the name of the artist, is they will be able. That's how they'll be able to retrieve that data or that information.
Okay, I could see that. Or maybe more like something, let's say we have the artist Black Sabbath and we want to know who their fans are.
Mm-hmm.
We can go into our fans table and we can say, hey, return all of the fans for the artist with the artist ID 1, which is, let's pretend that's Black Sabbath's ID. And so then it will return all of the fans that belong to Black Sabbath. So it's creating sort of a belongs to relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because fans belong to artists.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that artists belong to fans. Maybe artists have many fans. So that would be like a has many relationship, but definitely fans belonging to artists is what's going on here. And I don't know if you've covered this just yet and learn, but you'll learn that when we have a column like this that establishes that belongs to relationship, we call this a foreign key.
Okay.
Yeah. And that foreign key is what will associate your two tables together. Or two objects together.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so the next one is, we'll take this and we'll write the SQL to add yourself as a fan of the Black Eyed Peas, and its artist ID is 169. So it wants us to add something into our fan table. what's the keyword we use when we want to put something into our table? Like actual data now.
I'm not sure.
No worries. Let's see. So if we go up here, it looks like there is no command listed here. So what about the next lesson? This talks about altering. Okay, let's go to the next one. This talks about data types. Here, inserting, updating, and selecting. So this is definitely one of the lessons that talks to that. So it looks like use the insert into command to insert data into a database table. So I think that's a good one to use.
Got it.
And so if we scroll down, you use the keyword insert into, list your table, and then list the columns and give them values. All right, cool. I think that's doable. So let's say insert into fans. And then we'll say, so we don't need to list the ID. We don't need to give the ID any value because that's auto incrementing. What will happen is when you insert, SQL will go in and automatically add that number. So we don't need to add a value to that. What we need to add a value is to the name and the artist ID column. And then we'll say name, Johnson, and artist ID, it said 169. What do you think?
Name, artist ID, value. So insert fans. So we call them the table fans. Name. Yes.
Let's give it a go. Let's see what SQL says. Okay, so query executed successfully. It looks like it added it to our table. How can I check and see, like, what's a SQL query I can run to check and see if it inserted this into my fans table?
Would you put select star fans? Oh yeah, from fans, yeah. And
Let's see what that returns.
semicolon.
Yep. Oh, I forgot my semicolon. Wow, I'm actually surprised that it didn't give me an error for that. Interesting. But yeah, so cool. Excellent. Yeah, so select all from fans returns that one that we created. Cool. Some like things that I do want to point out is like, even though it's not conventional that we set the IDs ourselves, because then you kind of mess up your database, you still can do it. So let's say I did want to mess up my database. And let's say I wanted to, and we'll just copy this again. I did want to say like hard code basically the ID, and I'll say, let's hard code it to 10, right? And I'll put my name down here so that so if I run that, and it looks like it ran, and then so let's comment this out and let's go back to selecting all. So as you can see, it took the ID number that we gave it
Mm-hmm.
And inserted that data. The only issue now is if I wanted to create another piece of data in this table and not give it an ID, do you think it's going to start incrementing again from the 1 and fill up that gap between 1 and 10? Or is it going to start at 10 since that was our last entry?
I think it's going to increment.
From 1?
Yes.
Okay, let's
Is
see.
it?
I don't know. That's a good question. Is it? We'll see. So we'll go ahead and we'll insert into, and we'll get rid of the ID because we don't want to hard code it this time around. And we'll give just an example name. Great, so that inserted. And let's see, now if we query our table.
I guess not.
So it doesn't. So
Okay.
this is why you kind of want to avoid like hard coding the ID, is because you do kind of mess with your table.
Okay.
And so now like you don't have IDs 1, 2 through 9, and it kind of makes your table look a little bit funky, maybe like a little, I don't know, broken.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can, let's say I wanted to fill up the space, and so I'm like, you know, I can tell it like, hey, give me the ID number 2, and you can fill up 2 from 2 to 9 this way. It's not conventional. What's my syntax error? At line 8, 2. Values 2. Okay, that worked. So now if we do this, you'll see that it did insert it there. Not a conventional way of doing it though, and that would take a lot of like work on a programmer's side, as well as like knowing your database table and knowing what it's missing. So that's why we just want to avoid setting the IDs and
Mm-hmm.
let SQL auto increment those for us.
Okay.
And organize it itself. Why give ourselves more work, right?
So if we wanted to, so say if we wanted to get ID 2 and 10, we can just call it instead, right?
Yeah, so like you're saying if you just wanted to retrieve these?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. How would we do that? We'll use the same, actually, I want to keep this, so let's comment that out. Oh, and by the way, these 2 dashes, this is a way of creating comments in your SQLite browser.
Okay.
Another way of doing it is also using this syntax. Oops. Oh, why am I doing that? There we go. And so then this is a comment as well.
Okay.
I like the 2 dashes though. I find it a little easier than this. So yeah, if you ever need to like leave yourself little comments, do that, because if you run your SQL with these commented in, you'll get some errors. Cool. So what you're asking is, how do we specifically grab like person with ID number 1?
Yeah.
I guess you can do like select all where an ID equals 1. No tables. Oh, well, yeah. How is it supposed to know from where? And so, yeah, so you use the select method. Say, hey, select all from the table that you want to select from, and then the where keyword and you list the column with your value.
Can we list more than one value for ID?
I don't think so. Like you're saying, if we do like that.
Yeah, because I was stuck on a lab, and I couldn't figure out. They asked me for because one of the values had the same data. They wanted me to find the value for both um, columns that had the same value in it.
Okay.
And I wasn't able to figure that out.
I wonder, let's see.
It was the first lab, and
names of column. So like it wanted you to select.
so it asks us to the average GPA for ninth grade. So pretty much it's asked to get the
I wonder,
find the average GPA for the ninth grade. So the ninth grade had I guess two rows had the same value, and it wanted us to get the average of that.
but okay, but it's still the same column in the same table, right?
Yes.
So I guess like what you could do is I wonder SQL average command. Yeah, it looks like there's an average function for SQL. So select average, list the column name from, and then your condition.
Okay.
I'm going to send this to you in the chat so that way you have this, because it looks like this has some good functions like the sum, the average, the count, which is something that you probably are going to use. But yeah, my best bet would be that you would want to use this average.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Cool. So let's do, did we finish this one? Yeah, we did. Let's go ahead and let's copy that. And I kind of want to do this one before we finish off here. Just because I think this is like a good filtering functionality. So it says write the SQL to return fans that are not fans of the Black Eyed Peas. So it wants us to return everything but the fans of Black Eyed Peas. Let's comment this out. So actually we can delete that. So I'm assuming we're still going to use our select, right? And we want to select all. What else do I need here?
Write the SQL to return fans. You use fans.
Okay, so I list the table, right, that I want to select from. Okay. And then what else?
There are not fans of the Black Eyed Peas. I'm not sure from there.
Okay. So let's just think about our keywords at this point. We're selecting all from our fans table, and what I need is a condition. What's the keyword that we use for a condition?
Aware.
Excellent. Yeah. Where, and then at artist ID 169, that's the artist ID for Black Eyed Peas. So which column in my fans table here can I list for this condition?
Which column?
Yeah, which column would I use here to indicate the artist?
Artist ID.
Perfect. Yeah, so we'll say where the artist ID, and then what's the syntax for not?
Not.
Yeah.
Oh, NUL. No, nothing or no.
That returns just like null, but like what we want to say is where the artist ID is not the Black Eyed Peas ID.
I don't know.
No worries. So remember, it's the bang operator with the equal sign.
Oh, got it.
And so we'll go ahead and we'll say where the artist ID is not equal to 169. So what we're doing here, just to recap, is we're saying select all from our fans table where the artist ID does not belong to the Black Eyed Peas.
Got it.
And let's not forget our semicolon. All right, so it looks like it's not returning anything because we only have Black Eyed Peas in our table.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I guess what we can do is, let's do select all from, well, let's do artists. And we'll use Black Sabbath. Let's keep track of that, 12. And then so we'll say insert into fans name artist ID values. We'll say Joe. And the artist ID is 12. So what I'm doing is I'm basically creating a fan in our fans table that doesn't belong to Black Eyed Peas.
Okay.
Cool. So now that we have that, now if we run this query again, we're going to return that. So it's going to return all of the fans who do not belong to Black Eyed Peas.
Got it.
Cool. So I think that's a good place to stop here. Do you have any questions before we wrap up?
No question. I just have to. I think I got a good understanding based on the reading. So
cool.
Definitely
Yeah.
continue.
Definitely, like my recommendation would be to download this this database browser. I think it's really helpful, and I think it's a little bit more fun to work with than the command line.
Okay, for sure.
Cool. Great. Well, thank you so much for participating, and I'll see you at the next one.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.